All right, here we are. First of all, welcome. This is Jay's Tailgate Nation. I'm really excited to be here. It's been a crazy week, but you know what? This is what we've all been looking forward to. There's been a lot of swirling going on, but I have to tell you, I'm so excited for my guest today. So today we have the one, the only. We have Todd Moore, a really great Baylor guy from Wortham, Texas.
You pronounced it right. Good for you.
Wortham,
Not
Texas.
Wortham.
No, Wortham, Texas.
Yeah.
You're a Baylor football player through and through, Baylor graduate. And one of the things that I really love is that you bet on yourself, right? You stayed in Central Texas, could have gone to New York, Chicago, Dallas, but yet you stayed here. We're gonna get into that today.
Okay.
So I have to talk about this. I have to give you a little bit, give you a lot of love. One of the things that I really love, we were talking earlier about how you purchased a bank. You guys, I think, started with around 30 million in assets and took it all the way to 1 billion. So first of all, thank you for taking the time. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that. I do have to qualify for any friends before they start giving me a hard time. I was a walk-on player for one season, but I was around because of my circumstances. I was around some really great players at that time. While I was in high school, got to know some Baylor players, and a lot of them still dear friends today. So let me qualify that because Ricky Thompson's one of our CEO, and he's a Baylor legend. And he's gonna check me on that.
Well, one of the things I love about you is your humility.
Well, thanks.
So, and I think that's what that is, because I look at it like this. There's still a small amount of people who've ever played college football at any level, forget just Baylor. It's just when you look at it in the grand scheme of things. So I think it's special for you.
I did get the chance to tackle Alfred Anderson in practice one time, and if you haven't done that, that's a scary thing. You have to go back a few years, look him up. But yeah, that was a wake-up call between Class A football and a guy that had a long NFL career.
So let me ask you this. I have to ask you, you played with some great players. Mm-hmm. What is it like now? You just came through the tailgating area. I know you have your own, and we'll get into that in a second. But what is it like? I mean, you were at the old Farrell Center, and then actually the Farrell Center wasn't even built when you were here.
No. I graduated.
I
was one of the first classes that graduated in the Farrell Center because I came back to school after working in the home for a little while. But basketball was Hard Texas Coliseum in the day.
So it's Hard Texas Coliseum for basketball, and then
Floyd Casey Stadium.
Floyd Casey, and then you just coming through here. What is it like?
Man, it's a wholly different world. The world's changed so much. But we'll talk about some of the stuff that's unique to Baylor. I think still there. It's being the type of school we are, only one like ours. It's a very relational school. People ask you what'd you get your time at Baylor, and it goes back to access to professors, relationships you met. You could go talk back in our day. You could go talk to professors after hours, and I'm talking the PhD professors, not just the teaching assistants and all that. It was really a special place.
Well, I have to ask you about this. Fast forward a little bit to present day. I know you came from your own tailgate. You host one of the largest tailgates as well in Waco. What's the secret sauce?
Yeah, that's funny. We combined up with an accounting firm that had a long-standing one, and then we just kind of pooled ours together.
Yeah.
So we got the benefit of their experience in putting it all together. They do all the work. Whitaker, Spinks, and Kozlowski is the name, and Roy Spinks is the leader of that. Some of our people now joining that, and man, it's a crazy thing. They get there early. They do it right.
Yeah.
We just it's a deal. I was telling you earlier. We got the check for some of it. They do all the work, and it's great.
So the secret sauce is figuring out how not to do all
that's
the labor.
Right. But the main thing about that is, in my former banking times, we've had suites, and they're just different. They're unique, and there's some great benefits to that. This thing is nice. It really fits our style because people can just come by. They don't have to have a ticket. You hear about here, come on by. Come see us. We're open for everybody, and there's always plenty of food and drink, and it's a great experience regardless of what happens on the field. We're going to have our time.
And what's
together.
The name of your tailgate?
That's a great. It's just an Alliance Bank tailgate, and Whitaker, Spinks, and Kozlowski join it. We got our signs up. It's on MLK there. It's in the Bravos River parking. On the edge, about halfway down.
I love that.
So yeah, so maybe we'll have a big crowd next time after hearing this. But yeah, just come on.
No, I love
Everybody's welcome.
I love it. So you guys heard that. You have an invitation.
That's right. Come on.
To the Bear Stream. You could always come by the Bear Stream. You could always come by the Alliance Bank tailgate as well. And of course, we have to thank our really good sponsors, our presenting sponsor. We actually have Sydney, and he does a great job over at Marie's Wine Bar on Austin Avenue, and he really does a good job over there. And I just love all of the energy. Yeah. I love all the things that are happening downtown Waco. What are your thoughts there? Because at least when I was in school, you could probably shoot a bullet down Austin not hitting anyone, and now it's bustling.
It's definitely different. We talked when I graduated in the late '80s and stayed in Waco. Some of my friends came out of business school. Interviewed going to the big city metro markets, thought I was crazy, but I was a small town boy. Grew up in Central Texas. I knew I wanted to be here.
Yeah.
By that time, I was married. My wife was from Houston. We knew we wanted to be in this area, wanted to raise our family here. But it wasn't as cool as it was now.
Yeah.
And now it's just grown. And then I think with the Chip and Joanna effect, it didn't make us, but it marketed us a lot better. People started seeing what was here. And then some of those folks, 20 years later, like, hey, when you start raising kids and all that, they're a little bit like, it's not so bad. In fact, some of them have moved back in the area or moved back to Austin, and they're up here all the time. And one of them, was on a program with me, a banking program. He'll be at my house tonight, spending the night, and he comes in from Austin. He came from Microsoft a few years to go back to Austin. Now it wasn't quite as cool.
So you've seen Waco become a lot cooler.
Yeah, it's really, really fun.
So how much do you feel like your involvement at the bank, because we know a lot of what you guys are doing is, really extending loans and so that's the lifeblood, right?
Yeah.
Credit and just having the ability, liquidity and things like that to grow.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of ties back to this, mention relational. What we do, we're not a big regional bank or super regional bank. Another banker said it well. They do the things we can't do. We do things they don't want to do.
Right.
Our primary market, we're kind of a commercial bank.
Yeah.
And I like the Dave Ramsey measurement of small business, like 500 employees or less. 500 employees or less gets us most of what we do. People we bank. We have a legal lending limit to any one commercial relationship of about $30 million. When we started, it was $1 million.
Wow.
So that gets most of our market, most of the lending we do, but we're primarily commercial. We bank everybody, but primarily that's what drives our numbers. And I don't know if you mentioned, but we're in Waco, Temple, Belton, Georgetown, up and down the I-35 corridor. You're talking about a hot place to be economic development wise. There's probably not a hotter place between Dallas. From Dallas to San Antonio is probably as hot as any place in the country as far as investment coming into this area.
And why
crazy.
Is that?
That's the short answer is I think one is the business environment is here. The concentration.
And when you say here, do you mean Central Texas?
Texas in general.
Okay.
But that triangle from Dallas to Austin, San Antonio, over to Houston, the population centers, the markets here, a lot of big manufacturers are coming here, and that's what they tell us. And I forgot the exact number, but especially Central Texas, the range of population within 100 miles is what brings them here. Big packaging companies spent about $1 billion in investment here. They just opened the other day, and that's what they tell us. It's the markets, it's the freedom, taxation. It's just a very business-friendly place. I know Governor Abbott and others before him have really tried marketing that, and boy, they're coming. They are coming.
So if you want to leave your high-tax area, speculation come to Texas.
That's right. That is true. That's true, and they're coming. They're coming.
All right, I want to jump back to tailgating real quick before we come back to talking about Alliance Bank. So your tailgate, is it more like a CEO summit or is it more like a backyard barbecue?
Backyard barbecue, man. We got all hops, all kinds. It's just a great place for people to gather, and it fits us well. And I mentioned we're a commercial bank, but we got consumer people. People come in open $500 checking accounts. We take them all. But it's people that want a personal relationship, want to know somebody. Our CRMs customer relationship managers. Everybody's got their cell phone numbers. We say if you call our direct line, you don't know us,
right?
Because they're calling our cell phone numbers night and day. They have relationships with people all the way down to just even deposit customers. It's just different.
Well, I have to brag on you for a second, right? So I was talking to one of my friends, and he was like taking forever to get back to me, and I said, "Hey, I just want to tell you, one of my new friends, Todd. He's the CEO of $1 billion bank, managed assets, and he responds back very quickly. So if Todd can respond quickly, and you're really good at that, so I have to give you a big compliment.
I appreciate that. My wife's sitting over there. She's probably says because I never turn it off. It's a blessing and a curse. I have to correct you. We recently made Ricky Thompson our CEO. And I mentioned that because anybody on Baylor knows he's a Baylor legend. He was president of the bank. We met a younger man president. He became CEO. And I went to this fancy title called executive chairman, which means
explain that to us.
That's a good one because I just learned it this last year.
Okay.
I'm chairman of the board of the bank. And but I was chairman and CEO.
Right.
And most people don't care about this except bankers. But what it allowed us to do, and strategically was important, it allowed us to make a young man that really needed to be made president of the bank. We gave him that title. Ricky was president. He gave up that title. So, and the board made him CEO of the bank, and he is CEO. And I'm chairman of the board, but the difference, the executive title just means that I'm operational within the bank. I'm still office next to Eric Sherrill, who's one of our founding partners. He's a CFO for the bank, and Ricky's next door to him. and we still operate as a great team. But there is some it's been a learning deal because Scott Rogers is the president of the bank now. Ricky is the CEO of the bank,
Right.
and basically what it means is I can't hire and fire people anymore. We play
That's
with
what he
all the
said.
bed like
I don't know if I believe
that's
this,
him.
but I'm going
It
to
is
take your
true.
word on
It's
it.
true.
I'm going to take your word on this.
The board hires the CEO, and he hires everybody else. And I'm a board member, but they basically set my stuff, and then so the conversation's a little different. It's like, well, Scott, you're president. What do you want to do? But that goes back to that collaborative effort. And a lot of that, I learned. We talked about this a little bit in preparing for this. Is the team part. And I know you can get it other ways, Jay, but there's something about being in a team sport. You get it as well, that it really keeps you humble. And it's not false humility. It's like, I recognize, and CEO title's nice, and we all have egos and all that, but from playing team sports, you recognize that you're not out there on that island,
Right.
And if you don't play with your team, you'll get your butt handed to you, and it's very humbling.
Yeah.
And that can even happen in the business world. So I'm not falsely humble. I'll just recognize it's a we thing, because you can't, in a highly regulated environment. We talked about that Forbes deal. It's the people that are answering the phones. They're doing the day-to-day, the blocking and attacking. What analogy you want to use that make it happen? And if you get out there and start thinking, oh, this is me, mine.
Right.
You're going to be alone sooner than you think. Because we didn't know anything about that. I didn't even know it really existed, but we got a notice. I got an email that said, "Hey, congratulations!" I'm like, on what? And they had this link to this Forbes article where they named the top banks in Texas. They do it by different industries, but they did across the country. They did top banks, and there were 7 listed in Texas. And if you go to their Forbes site on that, and it says sort by state, and you click Texas and you pull it, that's because there were 7 listed, but you go 7 by state. Number 1 was Alliance Bank Central Texas. And there were banks in there like Capital One. Some great banks. Frost Bank, USAA, I think was number 2. Some really big, great banks. There were some community banks. There's a big one out of Amarillo, a big one out of Corpus Christi. But it was based on customer experience. It wasn't the thing that I was really proud of. It wasn't, and there's nothing wrong with this, but it wasn't based on a bunch of metrics that no one understands except regulators and bankers.
Yeah.
And the performance and all that. And that's all well and good. But this was based, and it was on customer experience. And I started laughing because Ricky Thompson, our CEO,
former
Baylor legend,
NFL
track, played, had a long career in NFL in the 70s. He's our CEO, and he's a great competitor and great banker. And we were driving down to Georgetown to our location down to see some folks, and I got that email. And I pulled it up. I was like, "Hey," he was driving. I was like, "Hey, look at this." He's like, "What?" And I was ringing off to him. He said, "Who else is on there?" And I told him those banks. He said, "Yeah, that's not right." He's like, "We're gonna."
And I can see Ricky.
He's like, "We're gonna notify them." Well, because we're only in 3 markets. We're not major markets or anything. And the short of it is, I was really pleased because it was based on customer experience. They hired a company named Statista. That's a national surveying company. And from our QBA days in college or whatever stat classes, they'll tell you it's all based on standard deviations and deviations from the mean. But statistically, they did a survey, and based on the numbers of responses they got, and I think more importantly, if you drill down on it, it was based on the strength of the responses. Not just somebody, what bank you got? Well, that one. But in reading down, it said that you got strong response. No, we really love our bank. And I say that because not personal brag, because those folks, that's not really because what Ricky and I and Eric and Scott do as much day to day. That's like that. If you walk in our doors, regardless of who you are, what size account you have, the experience that you get, or if you call, or like today, a guy asked me a question. I was in his shop. He called me a question about a CD rate on a big deal. I was like, I don't know. I gave him a quote. And I called a girl that I thought we're open today till 12. And I called the lady I worked with and said, "Hey," and then I said, she said, "Well, let me call somebody." I'm like, "You're not at the bank?" She said, "No." So I got a call from you this morning from the workroom. She said, "Well, I stopped by there, but I'm not at the bank. I'm not working today." And so then she volunteered, "Well, let me call Fernanda." And they just called their cell phones, and I gave them a quote. None of those girls were working today. I said, "No, I can call them." And they just, no. It's that kind of people, and that's a culture thing. And you talk about movement. I'll take credit for the role in it, but that's something that people just do over there. And that's a culture that I think a lot of people get at their knee. The key is just being able to find them and hire them and then motivate them and keep them happy. That's my job.
Yeah.
I work for all those people. They don't
Right.
work for me, man.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's a team aspect. You're talking about. They're reaching out to a sample size of customers.
Yeah, it's
and then
statistical.
and then
Some
so
way
these are all these touch
I'm like,
points.
for all, someone, if I could get to the right person, they won't tell you the sausage is made. But if I could get the right person, he would say, Todd, or she would say, Todd, statistically, we did this many samples.
Yeah.
Here's what, and they go, oh, that's why. There's some reason we'll take it.
I love this.
But I'll ask you. I didn't get a chance to ask you.
Yeah.
You ran track at Baylor.
I ran track.
What did you?
I ran the 400. I ran 800 because everybody. To Coach Hart, we're here. I have to talk about this real quick.
Ricky talked about that. He went to that funeral.
Yeah, so we're actually, for those who don't know or watch, we're right behind the Baylor track and field stadium named after Coach Hart, Clyde Hart Stadium. So I ran the 400 and 800. And if you've ever met Coach Hart, everyone runs the 400 at some time.
Yeah.
Like some meets, we would go to University of Texas, Arlington, and he would do like a shot put 4x4.
Yeah.
So that's what I ran.
Yeah. Involved any relays?
I did. I ran the 4x4 sometimes and 4x8.
To my point, you can have a blowout quarter mile, right?
Right.
Team doesn't do it.
Yeah.
You're dead last.
You're dead last.
So get out there and holler and start talking about how great you are.
Yeah.
And that way, that teammate thing is real. And I know people can get other ways.
Sure.
You can learn to work and collaborate together in other ways. But man, that's real distinct, especially, sports is meritocracy. And I think about that in business sometimes. Sometimes you want to keep people on, but like in sports, if you can't play second base, and I love you to death.
Yeah.
We've been homies, but you can't play second base. And in business, you have the abilities, you get bigger, you can cover up, but then it hurts the team.
So let me ask you this real quick. So obviously you played sports growing up, and obviously here at Baylor.
Ran track.
Mm-hmm. How much do you think those experiences impacted the leader you are today?
I think it has a lot to do with it. It's crazy because now I don't know how to compare it to other people, so I hate to say one way is the right way. It's just one way. I think it has a lot to do with it. I'm telling you, I've learned more, especially Rick and I keep mentioning him because he was a sports person. Yeah. We talk about that a lot. So much that you learn in that process, discipline, doing it when no one's looking, all those things. Man, we get to do the same thing in business, but we don't get, concussions and pull hamstrings, and you can do it for a long time.
Sounds better.
Yeah. But it's the same thing. I'm not kidding you. We had a thing happen to us that we had a bank exam. We can't disclose the rating stuff, but there's this, they take these components and they grade you and you get a rating, and then they component them together to get the average. Right. Well, one of the things they downgraded us, and the component was the same. So it didn't matter. Yeah. But to the people, it's like it really mattered because it's just point of pride. It's really bugging us. Right. And they always tell us, well, they're subject to change by the office before it comes down. Well, they always say, but they never do it. But there was this one guy that was kind of rogue, and we disagreed with his call. It wasn't a subjective thing; it was just numbers. Right. The numbers. You got it wrong, and we inquired, and they changed it. The point of it is, it never happened. I've been doing this 40 years, never changed one. And when Eric walked in,
wait, you said over 40 years.
I've been never seen them change.
Wow.
It. The people in the office that do the grading, they have review examiners. Well, it's subject to change, but they never change it. Yeah. They contacted us and said, on that grade, we're going to move it back to where it was. It was sad how much joy was in the room.
High fives all
around. High five so hard it hurt my hand because it was an.
While you're thinking, Wife Kelly's over here, and she was laughing at this, so she's laughing and she's enjoying it. Shout out to your wife as well.
That's my ex-girlfriend. Yeah, it takes people. We've been married 40 years, so it takes them a while to think about.
You said that to me when we first got here, and I was like, I froze. I was like, wait, what? I had to process it.
Well, that's how she became my ex. No, that's great. At the time, it feels like twice, and I've quit W2 jobs. Right. To take a job that had more risk in it, but potentially more gain, right? Mm-hmm. And when I went from being president of a bank, but I reported to the chairman and CEO, to going to a smaller bank where I would be chairman and CEO and could put my own team together. I still report to a board. Right. So that was risky, and had small kids and all that. But then after a few years, we'd had some success there. I had hired Eric Show out of an accounting firm. He became a banker, And after a couple of years, with some encouragement from the local guy here, he's actually a UT guy, so I won't mention his name. He's kind of
we'll try not to hold that
yeah.
against
Well, I'm saying Benji Bauer was a great friend and was a great customer, and he was like, "Hey, this needs to be a Waco owned thing because it was owned by a great family, but they were out of Temple, and we'd had some success growing it." And so he went on line of credit with us, and after an exam that went well, we told our owners that we'd like to do this, and he said, "Hey, go if you want to jump out." I'll never forget. He said he was a kind of the head of the family. He's like, "If you want to jump out off the log and into the stream, God bless you." And that was kind of scary because we quit our jobs, had 2 kids at home, and we're on a line of credit that he backed.
Wow.
And if it didn't work, I told Kelly, I was like, "Hey, this doesn't work. We're starting over." And that was a great time. We started in a 14 by 15 mobile home, and we wouldn't want to go back there, but we could if we had to. And I knew while she was there, it was a great time in our relationship, and we jumped. So we had confidence because we knew we had a good team primarily that we could put together that probably going to follow us, and we had customers over the years that hopefully would do some business with us. But then when we decided to jump, then we had to talk about entrepreneurial. Most people don't think of bankers as entrepreneurial, but we went out on a line of credit and borrowed space that the guy wouldn't charge us. Great friend, it was an insurance agency.
Wait, so you said this is a mobile home?
No. Kel and I started when we got married. Like, I'm gonna quit this job. Yeah. And we're going to not have a job, and we're going to try to put together because we didn't have the money to do a bank. Most of the times, it's just a few families that own a bank. Sure. And we had to have $8 million to do what we want to do with the regulators' requirements.
Because I remember your first office on Lake Air.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah. We moved in a little shopping center. Yeah. So we had to go find a bank to buy or do a new charter issuance, and we found a little bank to buy. But before we had to raise the money because we didn't have money.
All right, so I got to stop you there. Yeah. So which is harder?
Making the jump. Because once you're out there, you've got to have confidence that you're doing. You're just trying to sell to people, and you can sell people if you believe in it. So it doesn't bother me because I'm like, hey, this thing's going to go. There's a great line in that movie. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Ray.
Yeah.
I loved Ray Charles. Not only his music, but there's a part in that movie. The theme was that he was a great business person, and he had all these different genres of music. There's a place in the movie where he's talking to this music exec, and he's going to either go do country and western or go do something. And there's a great in the movie. Asking questions like when he's trying to tell him, I'm going to do this. I'm about to go hit the road. We're going to promote this. And the guy goes, like he's not getting it. And Ray in great confidence, he's like, he figures out, if this is going to work, he's like, oh no, it's going to do what it do, baby.
I know that thing. Yes, I love that.
It's going to do what it do. We know it's going to go. So
that's the best line of the movie.
And you're asking people to put their money. If this doesn't work, now we got our best friends. In fact, one of the guys that wrote a check, he's like, oh, this has to work. I said, why? He said, you've been asking all your friends and relatives and best friends and neighbors to do this, right? He said, you can't afford to fail. I was like, man, that makes me nervous.
No pressure.
No pressure. But you had to go. But we had confidence that we knew it would work. But we started out. We asked 300 people to get 100. We had to have raised 8. We raised 10.
Wow.
And we've had 6. Talking about small. We talked about business in Waco and versus big cities and dynamics. We went out and since we've been in session, we've had 6 capital raises and raised over $75 million to support. Because when you grow a bank, you have to maintain capital ratios faster than you can earn it to retain it
by federal regulations.
You have to maintain capital ratios, and so we've now over 250 shareholders.
Wow.
The largest owns a little over 10%. Rest of them are far below 10%. Most of them own 1% or less. So it's 250 shareholders, a broad base, and that's why we've grown so much because we ask people, hey, if you buy in, will you give us a chance to do your business and tell your friends and neighbors? So it really was kind of a movement from that standpoint. But by the time we're asking for that money, and since gone back, it's not cockiness but confidence. Like, no, it's going to work. Much like sports. There's some of those stadiums you walked in, you're like, man, they know we're going to get them. Now you got to perform, but you walk in that stadium like, they know we're going to get them. Look at A&M today.
Oh yeah.
I hate to bring this up. All of Kelly's family went to A&M, and I just didn't get over that place. It's a great university, but they just never get over it. Right?
That was painful for me to watch.
Biggest comeback in their school history, from 3 down, 30 to 3 at half, and now they're 10-0 and undefeated, or whatever they are. But there's a confidence that goes in that stadium that they probably knew, and unfortunately, South Carolina probably like, hey, they're going to get us, and that's a big part. There's a fine line between a it's part of that. And part in a weird way, like I always feel like you need to be growing yourself and pressing yourself, because if I'm the same, whatever my role is, if I'm the same that I was when we were a $30 million bank, then I'm stealing from our directors and shareholders because I'm not growing. I listen to podcasts all the time. And a big part of that is
you even listen to one on the way over.
All the way over. And a big part of that, and we're starting to, we've done some, but we're going to build on this podcast thing from the standpoint is constantly learning. We talk about reps. In our business, we get a lot of questions about business questions, right? Not just banking questions, but like, hey, you know, you got any ideas about buying this out for my father-in-law? You know, personal finance questions about running their business. And ultimately, sometimes there's a banking, but a lot of it's just business stuff.
Right.
I listen to a ton of business podcasts. I listen to Ramsey's deal on personal finance. He's got one on business, one of them on personal finance. And that's just reps for me. Now, I always don't agree with what they say, but I always wonder if I was posed that question, and I feel like I owe it to people to have a better response if I'm practicing. And I guarantee you, and funny you say that, because it's just us. It's like I've got a godson that's playing for the OKC Thunder. Local kid, great kid. We could do a whole podcast on that story.
Congratulations and shout out
I
to him,
had nothing to do with it other than he and my son got to know each other in 7th, 8th grade. I'm sorry, 7, 8-year-old youth football. And so he went on vacations with us. He's got a great mom here in town, single mom. And so he just hung out with his wife.
The
Kenneth Williams. I'm sorry?
They had a parade for him, right? Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
So talk about that real quick. The reason why some people may not know, or they're out of the market, not in Waco.
Oh, he's a low, a lot of people in Waco didn't even know he played. It's a great story coming out of Waco, and ended up playing for the Thunder, and they won one of the championship last year and all that. But very humble kid, great. Kenneth Williams, a great kid. But my point is, remind me about that is, from following in the league more and all that goes in there, all those reps.
Right.
You know, I'm better able to answer those questions, I think.
Yep.
If I'm listening to other people's stories and ideas and all that.
Yeah.
And that's a big part. I mean, you can.
So you think the reps from listening constantly because the market's adjusting, and then also from your experience over the years?
I mean, I learned. I'm a lot more. I think I'm a lot more qualified in the last year than I have been the last 5.
Yeah.
Just from listening to other people.
Sure.
Talking about you know, their business ideas, how they, you know. I was listening to that guy on Shark Tank on the way over here today.
I love that show.
But there's a guy that's on there, the Mr. They call him
Mr. Sunshine.
Yeah.
Mr. Beautiful. What is it?
Yeah, Mr. You know what I'm talking about.
Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah, Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful.
He was on a podcast and he was talking, but his business experience. I learned some stuff today from listening to him on the way to this.
Because he worked at Apple for Steve Jobs.
He talked about that. Yeah. He talked about how much of a jerk Steve Jobs was.
I love it.
But how much you learned from him.
Yeah, that's what he said.
In the 20-minute drive over here, I think I'm better equipped. And it's really, at this stage of the game, it's about helping people. In our CRMs, there are people inside the bank. You know, we set up a forum inside the bank just so they can share stories and learn from.
I love that.
Ricky's been doing it as long as I have, and we got people coming, you know, right out of college and share that. So no, I think the reps are hugely important. And that goes back to your deal about training and all that.
Yeah.
You can't step out on that court or field without training. You're gonna embarrass yourself.
Yeah, I think reps are everything, and I think it's something that, you know, for a lot of people. I mean, you're at this stage where you're seeing a lot of success, right? And I think people maybe at the younger end, I always say that it's really being okay with, I don't call it failure, because I think they're all reps. Like everything you learn.
You learn so much more from
like,
failing.
I was telling you before we started, you know, we've had hiccups on the show. So you learn, you get new equipment. And so I always look at like everything that happens is a learning opportunity.
Yeah. You know, you talked to me before about staying in Waco and versus going. There was a certain period of time that, you know, these big companies would come and recruit on campus. I don't know if they still do it like that. And it's more sounding prestigious. You know, I'm going to go work for Conoco in Houston. I'm going to go work for this. So they're, I think of the first interstate downtown Dallas. That was the whole experience to go to one of those big towers and find my way there but part of the underlying deal was, well, you know, like you won't be challenged as much if you stay here.
Right.
And I'm like, you know, we put together our own board, Jay. One of the fun things about putting together our own ownership group, we picked a board, and it's a broad, diverse group from all different kind of backgrounds and face and everything. But I think what I said to you was, if you don't think it's a challenge, you go into that boardroom and you don't know your business and you don't know your numbers, they'll embarrass you. Now, they're all friends and loyal and all that, but I mean, you can't, what we used to call half step in there or at the bank, you will get embarrassed.
Yeah.
Because they can, there's only 1, 2 that have maybe one has banking experience, but they have broad-based business experience.
Because they have a lot of experience.
They just sit there quietly, and it's very annoying sometimes because I don't like having a boss, you know. Yeah. And they'll just sit there, and then one will ask a question.
Oh.
And it'll be the question that you didn't want to. Like, damn. I always say when I ask it.
How do you handle that when you have? Like for people who watch the podcast,
you have to own it
because you do a lot of board meetings.
Yeah, you have to own it. you have to be transparent, and if you don't know the answer, you just have to admit it. And sometimes say, man, I think I should know the answer to that, or I'll get back to you on that.
Yep.
You can't fake it. But it goes back to that rep.
I do want to pause you there, because
the best thing to do is be prepared.
Yeah.
Know your stuff.
I do have to ask you, because I do think sometimes younger people, so we have a lot of people who watch the podcast who are younger, and I think sometimes like having the confidence to say, that's a great question, let me get back to you.
Yeah.
Let me get with the team and we'll circle back with you.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
That takes confidence as well.
Yeah. And at some point in time,
is that
at some
you feel
point,
the same way on
at
that?
some point in time, there's a place where you should know a lot of the answers. You need to be prepared, but it's much better if you don't know.
Yeah.
To say I don't know, let me get back to you, and then do it.
Right.
And then follow up. That's a big part about delegation. You can only delegate if you're delegating someone that's competent, and then they got the integrity to follow up and do it.
Right.
And you got to do that and follow up. But but don't ever try that winging it or making it up or whatever.
No, don't do that.
It comes. You'll show up every time.
Especially when you're with talented
people. And
that's talking.
That's just your ego talking.
I got to ask you this: how do you, as a banker, manage? Like, obviously, we know there's qualifications for loans, and then there's also kind of like the faith. In terms of believing in people and their vision that they come to you with. How do you guys, as a banker, I'm a non-banker just for everybody here. Yeah. We have to just set the expectations here. How do you balance that?
Like when people requesting like business loans and stuff thing? Sometimes we have to explain to people, because of the way the banking works, basically we're able to lend at lower rates because we're getting federally insured deposits, right? Like you can put your money with us and we'll pay you some level of interest, because that regardless of what happens to the bank, you got FDIC insurance.
Right.
It's the greatest system in the country. And then we can take those deposits and lend them out and help grow the economy. In fact, I think 60 or 70% of the economy is driven by small business, by that definition I talked about. The problem you have is, so people don't understand that. They'll come to you with what I call an idea loan or idea loan. And I tell them sometimes, like, man, we mentioned Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs didn't start this on a bank loan.
Right.
That's more of an equity return, equity risk. There are standards we have to make when we make loans, and they have to be collateralized, and they have to have a good track record from showing performance and where they're going to get paid back. And it's so disappointing when you can tell people at the defense and they come away, no matter how you say it, they think, well, they just think it's a bad idea, or they don't. Here's one I hate. They don't believe in me. I'm like, man, it's got nothing to do with it. Some of the best companies in the world, Compact Computer, that's the one that's not here, but Apple, Microsoft, any of those companies, Tesla, they didn't start on a bank loan.
No.
There's a place where you can then leverage when you've got a track record, and there's a place that we can insert in there. But at the end of the day, it's a return deal. If you're successful, we get a 3 or 4% spread on our money. If you fail, we lose it all.
Right.
And the equity investor is different. I think you mentioned something about these equity money going to NIL and those kind of things. It's just a different animal.
Yeah.
And they're not that they're bad. Their requirements are just different too.
Yeah.
It's going to be different than the universities owning that. It's a money game. You just have to understand where that's coming from. And so we have groups that's pretty good at telling people, because what we like to do is not say no, say not now.
Not now.
And here's what you have to do to get there.
Yep.
Like get there, come back, and get there and come back, and or you need some backing. You can do a certain part of this with some bank financing, but you have to have capital. And then I go back to our story. As much confidence as we had in doing this bank, we didn't borrow the money to do it. We raised $10 million and told people, when you put in 50 to 200,000, which is the bulk of what we did, we said, Jay, if you're that guy, I said, don't put in your child's education money, because it's going to be a growth model. It's going to be a stock play, meaning hopefully we're going to drive up the price of the stock. But we're not going to be paying dividends for a while.
That's strong game.
Dividends come out.
I have to pause you. I have to pause you though, because you just keep talk fast. No, you didn't go too fast. I just have to pause you, because I still think. So I just want to unpack this for a little bit. Okay. So basically, you guys sat down, went to people's homes, businesses, wherever you met them. Because I'm sure some business people, you meet them at their shop or whatever they're doing.
A lot of them customers in the past. They knew us. Or relationships.
Right. Yeah. So you sat down with people, and you guys raised this money dollar by dollar. And run it back for us. How much was it again?
$10 million.
Wow.
We didn't do stats on it, but Eric and I, it's funny. We probably talked to 300 to get 100. Wow. It's a really interesting sociological experiment, because you go to some people, and we had two types of people. Some people are money. Right. I'm sorry, no, numbers people.
Yep.
And other people are story people. Some people are both, but most of them are, hey, tell me the story. Tell me what's your background, what's your story, what's your marketing, who you're trying to address, what's your philosophy, like I said. And other people are like, I want to see the numbers.
Yeah.
What's your expected
So
return?
did you have to quickly read when you're meeting with them?
Yes.
How did you do that?
It's funny. Go back to reps. It's funny how it all circles around.
Yeah.
It's funny because I like comedy and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're fascinated. Someone does a show. If you've done it 300 times,
Yeah.
when you hear a question, it's like,
Yeah.
you want to take that? You want me to take it? Because you go left, right. You want to take the money question? You want to take the
kind of like in football, right?
Exactly.
Like you see the defensive
end.
end.
You want to go left, right? Because I can play your part. You can play my part. Because you just it's the reps. And sometimes and some people it's a 30-minute conversation, and sometimes it's three different hour conversations.
Wow.
We start talking about people writing checks, man. The money's it's serious business. But it's I don't know if I'd want to do it again. The older you get, the less risk, more risk averse.
That leads into my next question.
But it builds a passionate group. Everybody was on that group, man. By the time we got our money raised and got open, we had 10 people on the payroll.
Yeah.
Because you can't just say, hey, we're going to open a bank and pay a lid. You got people on payroll back there. Those people think about this, man. I get emotional. Those people came when they had confidence. They quit their jobs to start putting together this thing. So when we turned the key, we're ready.
Wow. Wait, and so was this before
when we quit our jobs to go raise the money? We had on a line of credit. We had to start bringing people. So like when we get that bank ball,
because you start one,
you got to go.
Wow!
You can say, "Hey, we're open." Saturday.
I don't think I knew that.
No, teller compliance. I mean, you got to have what would be like a manufacturing center. You don't just turn it and say, "Oh, you got to go."
Wow.
Those people came not knowing. We started paying them, but we're paying them a line of credit. Until we get our deal bought and our money raised, they came. We didn't have our money.
You guys are burning cash.
Oh, you think? Well,
I mean not burning, but you have a payroll.
Yeah, burning cash like no revenue, all borrowed money on a line of credit.
All right, I gotta ask you this then.
But how about those people that come and just believing in just us believing the concept? Like
that's what I want to ask you about.
I get emotional about it now. We got about 4 or 5 of those people left.
What does it mean?
You don't think why they're there?
What does it mean though that they believe in? I'm talking about the people who quit their jobs and join this with you.
That means everything. Everything. Yeah, like I said, they weren't just believing us as people, but in the concept and what the how they wanted to do it. Because when you put your deal together, you get to say, we think we're to do it this way. Those people are special, man. Yeah, special. That one lady I called about the CD deal today. Yeah, she was one of those.
Wow. So I call those. I have this saying. I call them day one friends. I actually got it from a rap artist, but we won't go there. Yeah. So I call what I call day one friends. Yeah. And those are the people, obviously, like it says. So are those kind of your day ones? Absolutely. Not your employees and the people who said yes early?
Oh yeah, those people much more than just employees. I mean, they're those people. I can call them by name. Our chief information officer, the lady I just talked about, calling for that CD. She was my assistant when I first started. When I first quit that first job, she came with me. Now she's on senior staff and pretty runs the place. She sets the culture and the tone for the whole bank for service and all that. No, those people they're your tribe, man, and know your better faults and all. But when something goes wrong, you put them in the room, and everybody owns it. Not pointing fingers, man. That's a special place, special time.
So, kind of thinking about where you are and looking backwards a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit moving forward in a second. What advice would you give your 25-year-old self, knowing what you know now?
Listen more and talk less. Yeah, especially as I'm transitioning this role from going from CEO to executive chairman. It's really made me think about, because it's not my role to be the CEO anymore. But really, listen more, be more thoughtful about what you say, especially when you're at a point where people are listening to you. It's kind of funny when you get in this career. When you're in your career, Jay, you're trying to get to the point where people in the room will listen to you at all, get some credibility. Yep. And now I'm on the other side where nobody listens to me anymore. But be thoughtful about what you say, and not just in that, but in all conversations. Even at home, I mentioned I got a great wife over there. She's talking to somebody now. We've been married 40 years. Be more thoughtful about what you say.
Do you have any lessons, like things that stick out to you? Because I know for myself, like I can think of my younger self about listening more and talking less, or just lessons. You don't have to give a specific situation.
No, I think that's a big part of it. Observing more and talking less. There's a fine line between most people that do this or have an entrepreneur or doers. And there's a term
like type A personality.
I guess I take it to delegation. It's hard when you're a doer, when you're an operator, to let loose the reins and stuff, and really to let others go with it. And
how did you grow into that?
By failing, by not getting it right and wishing I had, stuff like that. So I guess as far as growing a business, and it's one of the hard things to do, is to observe and let people. Again, if they meet that criteria, that you can only delegate or scale if you have people that are competent, they got to be able to do the job. But more importantly, the second part, that they have the integrity measured by that they will do what they say they'll do when they're going to do it. And even if they do it in a different style than you would do it, like, I want it. That's the way I do it. You know, and do it in a different style. And then here's the problem, bro. When they get a better result, they do it better than you're doing. You know, you're like, man, you know, it is true.
But that's a good feeling, though.
Have great people and then get out of their way. And the getting out of the way part is hard. Yeah. Because you're like, you know, if you're going back to the sports analogy, I was one of the guys who came from a small school, and I was on the field all the time. Yeah. And there's great aspects of that, but also, in fact, I'll tell you one. Cedric Mack, that guy I mentioned, that was shout out to Cedric Mack. One of the best athletes ever, all-around athletes ever come through Baylor, and maybe the least known. You know, drafted out of high school, could have played professional baseball, got a D1 scholarship to Baylor, played football and baseball at Baylor, was a leading, I think he had the all-time record for steals unless they recently broke it, but more importantly, he played the base like a professional, was his first seat test and all this, and had a, I don't know, 8 or 10 year career in the NFL, second round pick, just a great deal. And he was one of those quiet guys, And I remember we were running around at Baylor. They were older than me. I was in high school when I met some of these guys, and we'd come over and visit. And then my freshman year, you know, walked on here. That's a whole story. Coach Turner told me I was too small to be a quarterback. And I thought, too small? You're 5'4", Coach. But then I was looking back, and I was 17. I was 16 when I was making decisions because I graduated when I was 17. Wow. And I didn't realize, like I just jump in and do stuff.
So you've always been this. So you've always been a leader, operator.
That's my point. It's a great side. I always want to be in the field on the team. And that's, you know, there's some people we listen to. I don't know if you, I think it was you and I talking about, but Gary V, like, everything's Gary your fault. Shout out to the people, you know, give credit because they do, but your everything is your fault. Yeah. And it does feel like it's not a like everything that happens is my fault, but everything is like you own it. I love I hired that person. If he's not or she's not doing it right, who's that on? It's on me. Where did I not pick it up, or did I put them in the right position? So there's a fine line to balance that point in that doer. And you gotta have doers. Yeah. But if you got all doers, no one wants to play with you. You know.
Well, one guy I love. I don't know if you heard of him. His name is Jocko. He's like a former. I love him.
Yeah, Navy SEAL guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Navy SEAL guy. He had a book. Leadership. I think it's Extreme Accountability, and it's exactly what you're describing. Yeah. Who else do you kind of inspires you? I know we'll show, which is, but you were talking business earlier, and one of the things I love when you were talking about how you're collateralized, you know, not starting out with a bank loan. What are some other things do you think as an entrepreneur in terms of content or personalities that really inspire you these days?
Oh, man. I listen to a bunch of them. Someone called me a junk podcast. The guy asked me, the day you're podcast junkie? I said, I think I am.
I love that. And now you're on one. I mean, you have your own as well.
I listen to
Ask Alliance.
Gary V, you know, he has good stuff.
He's great.
There's Tommy Mello. I grew up in the trades. He's a guy in the trades business, and he engages a lot of trades. So I still, my family's all gone now, and I own our air conditioning business.
HVAC.
Yeah, HVAC. So I'm really involved in following the trades.
Back in Wortham, right?
Yeah, in Wortham. My son and son-in-law run it now. And,
wow.
You know,
so it runs in the blood.
Been there since 1956, man. 68 years.
Wait. Full stop. So your family's owned that business since 1959. 1956, excuse me. And then now you said your daughter and son.
My son-in-law and my son run it.
Your son, wow.
Been there since 1956.
So so entrepreneurship's in the DNA.
Yeah. Long before I mean, you know, I started working on trucks and being a helper when I was 6, 7, 8 years old. They're not here to tell the story, so now tell my kids I was 3. Yeah, 3 years old. I was in diapers.
Do they ever roll their eyes? Do they ever start rolling your eyes when you start telling those stories?
I did. But
about
my dad came off the farm, went to a sheet metal shop. Yeah. Ended up turning it became air conditioning. Had a partner, bought him out. But man, it was, you know, I saw the hard side of it. Man, we didn't. I drive by a building on Waco Drive, man, and people don't know it doesn't have any windows in it. I go about the other day. Thought about this. We grew up about 45 miles east of here, and it's gonna take some old school people to know this, but back in the day of layaway, we'd come over there and buy jeans I had brothers too. So I think about my parents raising these two brothers. We come over to Sears. Sears was in that building. Sears Roebuck. I come over there. I remember buying jeans and mom buying them and don't go home with them. She put them on layaway or something.
Yeah.
In the store, the department store in my head. I grew up in Worth in my head. I can't remember the name of it. There was a department store.
I know about layaway.
We put it in layaway, man. There was no credit cards, no credit and stuff.
People didn't really use them like that.
No, and what that later, you pick it, they put it in the back, and you pay on it, and then when you paid for it, you picked it up if they haven't sold it to somebody else.
Right.
You know, and there was a store in my head. I wish I could remember the name of it. They did that stuff. So, you know, it just that stuff just gets in you, man. And that fear of like making payroll stuff. I mean, now it's kind of different. They've been there long enough, and we've got enough capital that they don't live day to day like that. They don't understand that.
Right.
Man, I remember as a young adult, you know, that's one of those things I was here a year. That was a walk on anyway. But I went back because we had family.
Is what you're talking about when you're running the HVAC. But what's the name of it?
Worth American Distribution in Worth, Texas.
Okay.
It serves about a 60-mile area down. We have like 10 or 12 employees. They run about $2 million in sales. Great business, great reputation, and all that because the brand's been built from my dad and did what he said he was going to do for all those years, and now they benefit from it. But my point of that's, you know, back in the day, you know, the reason I went home is that we had some problems in the business and had some, you know, things were kind of tough, and it was a feast or famine business, and I felt like I wasn't, you know, the places that wanted me, I didn't want to go to. I thought I was going to go be better. Well, I felt like I need to get a job and start helping out, and I was like, well, heck, I'll just go home, you know. So I went home and worked for a few years, and then got married, and when I came back, I got on a little banking program the last couple of years, and worked in a bank, and then when I got out, stayed in banking here. But it gets in you. That fear, I'm telling you, you never get past that fear of making payroll. You know, it's still hard for me to turn it off. And it's not a bad thing. I think driver fear. In fact, a coach told me one time, and you can appreciate this. He told me in college sports, he said, you know, don't ever recruit it. He said, my coach that trained me said, don't ever recruit a kid based on potential. If they don't have that motor in them, don't think you're going to put it in when you get to college. Because it's a different game at college. It's 24/7, especially now.
The coaches don't want to have to chase you down to get you to work out.
And you don't think I can tweak that person and I can make them want it worse. He said, I'll take the kid. You got to want it, man. And it's hard to find people hungry now because, you know, society is just easier than it used to be. So
I have to ask you this, talking a little football now.
Yeah.
So obviously NIL was not around when you were here, and I know you walked on. But if you were, because there's a lot of student athletes now who are walk-ons. Literally, there's a kid. You're talking about Texas A&M. There's a young man who had a goal. He started documenting it. He wanted to walk on Texas A&M. He's got almost several 100,000 followers now on TikTok. He has brand deals, so we know it's possible. You don't have to be a starter. So that said, what kind of a brand deal would you have had if NIL was available when you were at Baylor?
None. My friends would have had some great ones. You know, I don't have any money to speak of, but I'm talking about walking around with, you know, again, when I really knew Walter before he played, but he would know me.
You're talking about Walter Abercrombie.
I'm talking about
don't know.
So,
He's close friend.
So I was still in high school, my junior and senior year, and Walter would come over through this friend that was doing music at our church. He liked music. They started, and then they come over and we'd varmint hunt. You know, like, it's no big deal. I don't know what's a big deal to them, but they never get to do that kind of stuff. And my mom would cook and all this kind of stuff. So I was just, I was around, and you shot through when I come over here. You may not remember these names, but Dennis Gentry, Walter Abercrombie, you know,
legends,
Dan Mackerel, Mike Singletary, Jay Jeffrey, you know, all those names. You know, I wasn't close with all those, but you know, I was around the
that
program.
Was the era you were in.
I didn't know those guys would be NFL players and all this stuff. I thought that's just normal.
Right.
And they, you know, won their conference that year and all that kind of stuff. But so yeah, that was. It was funny because sometimes, like, I come over and go to a game, not all the time. Sometimes I go to a game and might stay over and run around for a game, and they didn't have. It was different. I mean, they didn't have money to buy hamburgers.
Right.
I mean, like, they're out there, 45,000 people jumping up and screaming, and some of the guys, like, had to pay for their hamburgers or something. You know, it's just So I was all for, you know, the leveling up, and then the rules are so tight. They really couldn't have jobs.
Right.
So they get some jobs in the summer. They had to make sure they weren't getting overpaid for it.
Right.
It was really, really different world. So I've seen that side of it. You know, the only thing that concerns me is, you know, anybody getting money before they're really able to manage it is not. I'm for them getting the money, but it troubles me some to have a 18, 19-year-old kid getting this money, and
If you had an 18 or 19-year-old kid right now sitting across from your desk at Alliance Bank, they've got an NIL deal, they're making six figures, what would your advice to them be?
Easy. Put a team around you to help you manage it and stuff. And I'm not necessarily talking about professionals. I mean, you can do that, but you need a team of some people that will be honest with you and tell you, hey, and watch out for each other. That 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 can check each other. Like, hey, if the guy I recommended to do the investment, if I saw the investment, it's like, hey, I'd be calling him. I'd say, if you're the guy, you're the athlete, and I recommend you this investments guy, and I'm seeing his stuff, and he's got you in a bunch of. I'd be calling him first. Hey, what do you got, Jay? What are you doing?
Right.
You know, that some accountability
So
because you don't know what you're doing.
So you don't really
you don't know
what
what
you're
doing.
So what you say is people don't need to be siloed. Like your financial planner for example, doesn't need to be the only one looking at your books.
No.
And you found that to be successful.
Yes, for anybody that comes into money or has success. And you don't have to have. It's amazing. I tell people all the time, it's amazing how many people will help you and do it really for free.
Yeah.
If they see something and you're trying to do well. Like, at some point in time, there'll be people that will provide professional services and all that. But I mean, if you're that kid,
right,
there are people that will help you
for sure,
especially at Baylor.
Right.
I sometimes one of Baylor's worst critics, but it's from the inside because I love Baylor and all that kind of stuff and I care. But especially at Baylor, I guarantee you that kid, I could turn them on to 4 or 5 people already made their money. They're not trying to make money off the kid, but just say, hey, think about this. What about this? What if? So through Kenrich, I got the chance to talk to some professional coaches, and I'll never forget assistant head coach of one of the NBA team. I'll just say here in Texas. I won't say where.
Sure.
And he told me, he said, one of the worst things that happens to these kids is they get married. I'm like, get married? See, I hate to tell them that, but he said if they didn't come into the league with a good relationship, and they're there for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And then when the show stops and they quit flying private and all this stuff, income stops and they're not invested and they're not whatever, it's a terrible crash.
Wow.
Because now the people that are around them are not there anymore. Even their most important relationship might not be with them anymore.
Yep.
And they have no skills to manage all that stuff. And he says, over half the money's gone, and it's really can be a mental health issue for someone because they've been it since they were 6th grade.
Wow.
It's such a rare thing to play in the league. And I think about that stuff in business and successful people. You've got to build a team around you that cares about the outcome and cares about you, and you can find that. You don't have to pay them a lot to do it. I guarantee you, they're Baylor people.
Right.
They made their money.
Yep.
They've made their money. They're not
looking to make.
Yeah, they're not looking to make money off it. If you invest with them, they're going to charge you. But I'm just telling you, there are people that do that. That's the best advice you could give them because you're barely at 18. You don't know. You have no experience. Not that you're dumb. You just don't have the experience in that. And there are a lot of people take advantage of it. And these NIL people, especially those managers, that's a whole new world too.
Yeah.
And it's not regulated.
No.
Brother. At least
because there's people because some people don't know. Some agents are certified, but then like sports agents, but these NIL agents do not require any. You and I could say we're.
Kenrich asked me to help pick his agent, so I had to learn a lot about it. And he's got this guy's a. I would not want to compete against him, and I've told him that. If he was in banking, he goes all the time. Adam Pensack brothers at San Francisco, and we talked about it. He won't touch NIL. He said, man, because I know what he's gone through. I know his background. I know how good he is and how much he won't even manage the people's money. He just does what he does. But he's like, these agents, they can just be anybody, any influence or whatnot. And sometimes the stories, they give them bad advice.
Yeah.
Hey, sit out this season. Don't take this deal.
Yep.
Then they end up out. And then it's
so if you were advising some conferences, for example, news coming out, Big Ten conference, taking the equity stake, selling equity stake in a pension fund out of the West Coast. Is this wild or innovative?
Man, that's tough. But it's tough because I don't know the answer. I can just give a 10,000 foot. There's 2 parts of that. One, where you raise your money really kind of defines your organization. All right. If we'd have done our deal 100% debt, this bank wouldn't be here. In the early years, it takes so long to ramp up. We're highly regulated, the costs and stuff, to where you can make enough money to pay back. If we had an interest payment every month or P&I payment, we would have failed. Most businesses fail not because of lack of ability or lack of they don't have enough runway.
Wow.
because they're structured such.
So they're not
They
capitalized
can't. They're not capitalized.
Mhm.
It takes twice as long and twice as much capital most of the time to make a deal work. If we'd have gone 100% debt, we would have made it, and we knew that. We
Because
did
there's
all.
always hiccups
We hit
on
it
the
all.
road, right?
Well, so flip it around. Venture capital, private equity money,
Yep.
whatever you want to call it. Their horizon, their requirements for that money is different than a university that's on a mission.
That's a good
So
point.
you take the money,
right.
it's different. I'm not saying it's bad, but they've got a horizon to get a return on that money because
Right.
they're gonna grow it. Most time they buy a company, they're gonna go out and flip it.
Yep.
And they're chasing money. That's what they do, right? And a certain amount of return.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not bad. It's what it is. But on the flip side, the reason I pause to say I don't know if that's not the right thing, because now the world is so much different. You know, so NBA, at least, you know, NBA, they got contracts and rules,
Right.
and they've got agents that are licensed.
Collective bargaining agreements.
So now you got these universities in the business they don't know. And I would advise people, if you're in business you don't know, you know, take a royalty off of it and let somebody run it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if Jay's gets real big
Right.
and you're gonna start, and they're like, hey man, they come do it. You don't need to be running restaurants.
Right.
You need to be selling the J brand, let somebody else run restaurants.
Right.
So there's an element, maybe it is the thing to do.
Yeah.
To let somebody that really knows how to do that, but it's going to be different. It's not, you know, they don't have the same motivation as the nonprofit university with a mission,
Right.
mission like Baylor's versus a mission like Texas or mission. You know, it's
So what you're saying,
it's a business.
just to unpack this a little
Mhm.
bit, because I have obviously having worked at Baylor for a long period of time.
Yeah.
We know in your private business, what you're
Yeah.
alluding to is they operate a lot differently, right? So there's things that
Yeah.
athletic departments are doing. They're investing in for maybe the student athlete experience or different mental health and
Mhm.
things like that. But now that you have, and I'm just realizing while you're talking, now that you have this equity partner, they may not agree on some of those expenditures.
Who's making the
for example.
decision? The people that put the money up making the decision.
Wow.
And I'm not talking from any knowledge. I'm just
Right.
looking
You're
at
saying in
observing.
general.
Like if you're the regent or you're the president of the university or whatnot, and they want to make a decision that doesn't meet your value set, well, who's going to make that call? You know, if something happens with a coach or AD or some event or something, and they got to make a call and like, hey, this could affect our return. But you're like, it doesn't fit our values because culture, I guess we didn't talk to it, but the culture of the organization is everything. It's not the cherry on top.
Right.
If you don't get the culture right, you're
Right.
just a commodity out there. So, and that's your brand, right? Now someone else has got your brand and they're making decisions. I think that's the way to play out.
Sure.
You know.
So how does this
what do you
affect
do?
players in your opinion? Right, because we know about the house settlement deal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they get the $20 million a year payout at each university. So does that almost make them like, should they be stockholders? And we're just talking about your opinion.
No, I don't know, man. You get above my pace. I don't know. I don't know how this is going to
That's
play
why
out.
we
Man.
have him on here.
I don't know, man. Hey, you're my boy, man. I'll get back to you the thing on that. No, that's the part. It's the Wild Wild West, man.
Yeah.
And the only people I'd be
But is that
the only people I'd be suspicious of are people that say they know because they don't know.
Yeah. Is that
Yeah.
the
You know, that's a great movie. The movie recently about I forgot the name of it, but we were talking about the Michael Jordan story.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, his whole story of getting a piece of his deal.
Yeah.
And how much difference that made. You know, it's just the money's nuts.
Yeah.
And he was the first one that got a piece of his deal. You know, where do you drive that down to?
Yeah.
And how far do you go?
Yeah.
High school? Yeah, players they can't even sign they're not even 18 years old.
Right.
You know, and
in the state of Texas, for example, NIL is not legal, and we're seeing some kids
It's the
even
Wild
we're
Wild
seeing
West.
kids now in basketball going to IMG and different states that do allow it.
and
So no.
agents saying sit out this year.
Right. Yeah.
And what's that? Here's the other thing. Sit out this year. What does it say to your teammates?
Right.
You're on that relay.
Yep.
They're depending on you. Hey, we're going to win the conference. And then
Mhm.
Jay say, hey, man, it's not my business. I've been told I said I might pull something. My value might go down.
Right.
What does that say?
Right.
All right, here's another one. Here's one to dwell on as we wind this thing down. You sign a contract. You're over 18. You sign a contract.
Yep.
NIL deal.
Yep.
Another team comes to you and gives you a better deal.
Yeah.
You walk that contract.
Yeah.
What do you do? What does the university do? I'm just speculating, right? Well, we don't want to sue the kid. That's happening. It's in public, right?
Yeah.
And does the school A, school B? Because in business,
Yeah.
it's called tortious interference with the contract,
Yeah.
and you'll get it handed to you if you
Yep.
do that.
Yep.
We're gonna do that, you know. And who's gonna make? Okay, that's a great example.
Yeah.
Right now, let's say I'm University A.
Right.
We're gonna make that decision
Right.
whether we sue that kid.
Right.
You know, he's already spent the money.
Right.
We're gonna sue for that money back. We're gonna sue university down the street that we've had a 150-year relationship with and a great rivalry and it's big money. We're
Right.
gonna sue them for interfering with our deal.
Yeah.
Who's gonna make that call?
Right.
I'm
Man.
betting the people that put up the
Man.
money.
Man, these are good questions, Todd. This is good questions. You have my little brain spinning right now.
It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to go back to the bank.
I don't want to do the NIL.
No, I don't know anything about running universe. You're talking to the most. I don't know at all.
But you're raising good questions.
I can tell you, in most places, the people that put up the money make the decisions.
No, that's
and
fact.
If that goes against your culture,
if
it goes against your culture, something really your value set, that's when it's going to be a problem.
All right, got to ask you this, and we got to get to a quick rapid fire about tailgating. But I have to ask you this: why Baylor?
For me?
Yeah, why Baylor?
I'm gonna give you an answer. Might surprise you. At Baylor, listen to my last one. He asked me why Baylor.
Why Baylor?
I think Baylor's a place where a kid can come.
Okay.
That's a believer.
Okay.
A Christian kid can come and not feel at least he or she is going to be, they can fit in. And I say that cautiously because I and most of my friends were not saints when we're here. And I don't think we're called to be.
Right.
But at least you could come here. And if you don't want to participate in something or something that just didn't fit you, you didn't feel like you're getting made fun of.
Right.
I was 17 years old when I graduated. I was like, it all matters to all of us. But if I was like, no, I'm going to pass on that, or I don't want to do that, that's not me. There's some places I know where the peer pressure is just staggeringly and people lose themselves. I'm not saying you can't do that anywhere, but at least at Baylor, and they weren't, we didn't have to take religion class and all that, but at least you could go there and feel like, I'm not such a duck out of water. That person understands why I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do, right? And I just didn't feel like that maybe I would fit in some of those other places. I met Walter and some of those kids, and Walter was a preacher's pastor. His dad founded the largest black church in Killeen. They named a street after him.
Yes.
And again, none of us are saints, but when we start talking about things of faith, we end up being a group together.
Yep.
He and I, we knew what we were talking about. And then as a language.
What was the name of your group again?
Brother to Brother.
Brother to Brother.
Yeah.
So you guys had an album. So I saw it. I don't know if I told you this.
Yeah.
I was at a record store.
Yeah.
I think there's one on is it Franklin or LaSalle? Can't remember. But anyway, and I saw it in there. I've seen this was years ago. Yeah,
that was a special time just because anything you do like that, the five of us my brother was in there, a guy named Charles Jackson that played Mark. Charles Jackson that played at Baylor. The guy that put us together, Jim Grady, just had his funeral the other day.
Yep.
It was a special.
Where did you guys record that?
In a studio here in town.
Really?
We had no money either, man.
How did you guys pull this together? You got to give me a quick story. How did you guys pull that together? Whose idea was it?
Did gigs all over. Yeah. Used that to pay for the album.
Because you guys used to travel a little bit around Central Texas, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Became really close. I guess that's why, and I have a lot of friends. I know you too. But one of those friends that knows you back from when you were 16, 17 years old, ups and downs, that if, someone asked me, who do you think your best friend is? That's the point. Is the guy didn't know me. I was like, I don't know. I got a lot of good friends. I don't want to single anybody out because I have some great friends. I'm very fortunate, very blessed. But that guy, like, who sits in the room with you, like Job, like you lose a child. It's Walter Evergreen for me.
Talk about that friendship.
I can't. I get emotional. No, I'm just saying everybody needs.
I love it.
Everybody
I love
needs
it.
That. Like,
so you guys
think
have
of your worst time.
Worst
time. Who do you want sitting there on that? I don't know if you have a Bible background, but when Job lost it all. Those brothers that sat with him for like days. Yep. What they people remember. I heard some of this one. People remember what they said. Well, you must have done something wrong, Jay. But for days they traveled and they sat with him and didn't say a word. The people you want in the room, they just sat with you and don't say a word.
Right.
They know. They don't need to say anything. And the best when you're celebrating, or when you're just I messed up. So those people are really special. Of that group, one of them died the other day, and I'm 62. Walter's 65, and he had his wife had on the pedestal had the album up there. And I pointed and said, of those 5 people, Walter, only 2 left. My brother had a brain tumor at 53. Just stuff of life.
Yeah.
But boy, when you do stuff like that, man, it's
and
people
that
group.
This is a group that circle it back to Baylor.
Yeah.
Remember why Baylor?
Yeah, we played that. We went to Rosebud Lot, First Baptist Church, Rosebud Lot, and traveled wherever Baylor groups and stuff.
Wow,
it was crazy. We didn't know.
This is cool, man.
We didn't know, man. We just
how many of your customers be surprised
I don't have no idea, and they don't need to know, Jay. They don't need
the cat's out the bag.
I hope you don't have to dig a following.
We're cutting this up and we'll put it out on social media as well. So, all right, I got to ask you this lightning round. What is your go-to tailgate food and why?
Man, you're getting lightning around because of the nerves because she's worried I'm going to say something wrong. It has to be fajita stuff. Fajitas, man.
Okay.
Tear 'em up.
Fajitas.
Tear 'em
Okay. I'm gonna go brisket. Well, I'm gonna go brisket on mine.
Okay.
But I like this. I
Yeah.
like that. All right. I know who you're gonna say.
You
You're
may not.
you're underrated Baylor football player. The most underrated in
Oh,
your
I
opinion.
just said it. Said it.
Okay.
Yeah. He's. And I say underrated. Well, let me qualify that. Yeah, probably so. I qualify him as probably being the best all-around athlete. Like, you're putting a pickup game, basketball, football, track,
Yep.
it's said.
Okay.
But also underrated because they didn't throw as much at the time. But I think people were surprised when he went so high and hit such long, but I wasn't, because I'd see scouts come by and they'd watch Gerald McNeil,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Gerald
yeah.
Major Flea.
Yeah.
Hey, if you don't think that's an eye opener, so I switched from offense to defense because I played both in high school.
Yep.
But I thought I had a better chance for defense. Walk out on that corner and walk out there on Gerald McNeil. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Walter said he's a dog.
About 145
Yeah.
pounds, and it looks like something in a movie. Like,
Yeah.
he moved, and it's just like there's a color there. I had to walk out there, supposed to try to bump him and run with him. Dude. Hey, but at least I tried. Right?
Yeah, I love that.
But I remember scouts up in the stands,
Yep.
and they were watching with their little pads. And we were in rotations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have defensive guys and offensive guys, and we were in rotation. Like 7 of us on corner. And then but when they would rotate up, and Gerald was with Sid, and they were then really taking notes. When I was with Gerald, nobody's taking notes. But with Sid and Gerald's out there, and that's when I knew. And so people were surprised, like Sid, and they didn't get a lot of. Well, he didn't get many. No one threw to Sid's side.
Right.
He locked him down.
He was a shutdown.
He locked him down, and back then they just thought, well, who is that guy? But yeah, man, he was a ball. As evidence about he played, I don't know, 9, 10 years. You can look him up.
Yeah. No, Walter talks about him.
Yeah.
So I always
one
say
of the funniest dudes.
Yeah.
So funny.
All right.
It was a great relationships, man.
So I got to ask you about this as well. The most electric Baylor football game you've ever attended.
Oh man. Electric.
No pressure.
And that's tough, man.
I'm looking off camera to Kelly, his wife.
Electric games.
We're
And
both
I don't know.
smiling.
There's some good ones. I'm thinking old, but I go back to old school. But I'm telling you, this is an easy one though.
Okay.
That Big 12 championship game, that was pretty special, especially with the kid.
Which one?
In Jerry World up there. You know, the one with the 5th year walk-on kid.
Yep.
I was walk-on kid, right? Walk kid made that stop.
Yeah.
At the 6-inch line. It was special because my sons were there. And it was right down in front of us.
Yeah.
When those players, from the players' eyes,
Sure.
now, I didn't know. Well, I did kind of know that. Kid, but I didn't know the full story. But when they stopped on the 6-inch line, and the players looked down at the field, and they looked up at the ref, and the ref went that way, and they lost their stuff.
I love it,
man. That was like
I gotta tell you guys off camera.
Going over,
Kristen and Tom Hill just pulled up, and many people don't know. Tom Hill, Coach Hill, I call him. It was my 800-meter coach here at Baylor at the old one. So shout out to them. People can't see him.
A track girl.
So shout out to them. Yeah. All right. So got to ask you this too. Dream guest at your tailgate.
Dang.
Come on now. Come on, Todd.
Preparation.
Man, this lightning round
anybody or Baylor?
Your guest is anybody you would want at your tailgate at the Alliance tailgate, which I haven't had an invitation to, so I might have to just peer pressure him into one.
You know, I'm gonna go to Baylor person. I think it'd be Singletary.
Okay.
No.
So Mike's never been to your.
Nah, he didn't know me from Adam.
Okay.
He was.
Internet make this happen.
Yeah, he. So he was on the team. I think Walter was a junior when they won the conference. And all that. So I've shaken hands. But when he came back and was working on his degree after he'd gone to the NFL, he lived in an apartment complex. I'd shake hands with him. He knew knew me around it for. He wouldn't know me, but no, I was just thinking.
He has a good memory, so I'm sure you remember your face.
but I think from a Baylor, there's so many.
So you go, Mike. You go. Was that what you're locked in on?
No, I would say I think so because he's so intense, man. And people know his story. Like he was too short to come. He didn't have that many offers.
Yeah.
Baylor had a lot of those, man.
Yeah.
Gentry didn't have that many offers.
Yeah.
Walter was, he was somewhat recruited, but not a ton. I think maybe Texas and Baylor were only 2, and Texas was a big team. But maybe the pros, Cowboys, you're 2 inches too short.
You're right.
And just so intense and such a speaker. And maybe not just what he did then, but just his career afterwards. Like, I just got a lot of respect for Mike. He's just so intense, and so he just lived such a stellar life, even outside. It made Baylor proud. You know, I like that guy.
Okay, got to keep it rolling.
Okay.
All right, one thing Waco does better than Austin and Dallas. Good questions, aren't they?
Actually, I have a good answer for that. A guy that I was having lunch with yesterday used to work for us. He's our general counsel. Someone recommended him. He got a federal judgeship down in Austin, and there's only 12 in Texas. Very prestigious job, and he took it, and he's great at it. And we're having lunch yesterday, and he said one thing he misses. He lives down in Liberty Hill. He said one thing he misses there that he had here. You want to know the full story?
Well, it's lightning round, so you have to give me the conditions.
Full story quick.
Okay.
He's 50 years old, terminally ill.
Oh.
We were having lunch because he's buying out an investment guy, stuff to him, because he wants his wife to be able to manage her affairs after he's gone. This dude's 50 years old. Had this lunch yesterday in the Baylor Club. Not kidding you. He said the value of having people that she can trust and take care of all these things for accounting, insurance, how to buy a car, all the stuff. He said, I had all that here. In there, not they're bad people. He said, you can't pick up the phone and like, Jay, you want something here?
Right.
You know, I like being a Noah guy. I don't have kids, but I'm a Noah guy. Carter, I like doing that because you can help people. We talked about Keith Ferrazzi, you know, build your network.
Never lunch
never
alone.
alone, so you can build your network. He said, it's not the same there. He said, great people, but you don't have that network of like, hey, I know a guy, you know, people. So he's coming back to Waco and say, you know, when I'm gone, I need people that she can rely on and stuff. So you can do it anywhere. You know, I think people like that, you'll find your tribe anywhere. But man, in Waco, it's just so much easier.
So people in the community.
Yeah, the people in the community you can build network with.
Yep.
That you know, whatever it is, it's like you know, hospital, you know, how your kid's sick.
Yep.
You know, you need to know who the right person is.
Yep.
I mean, if you have a heart for people, I think it's easier to do it here than it is in the big cities.
Okay.
And people are more open to it a little bit from the country. They're a little more warming.
Right.
You know, just in general. Maybe big city a little more distant. So
it's faster.
Yeah.
All right. So I have to ask you this: your favorite Baylor football combo? Favorite Baylor uniform combo?
Oh man.
Kelly, he wasn't ready. He just thought it was all going to be about banking and regulations. No, sir.
So I'm going to surprise you.
Sir.
I'm going to surprise you.
Okay.
You don't think I'm going to go back traditional and all this kind of stuff?
I actually thought you would say that.
I know.
I thought you were going to say that.
She has no idea what I'm going to say. She's like, you know, you can't cuss on this podcast, right? She's afraid I'm going to cuss. Huh? Get your ass. I never said rear, but whatever. I like that clean white. That's clean, brother.
Yeah.
The white on white.
Yeah, that's a
nice. I like
look.
The traditional BU.
Yeah.
I don't like all the different, but the clean white's pretty fast. I was gonna say gold and green, gold pants and green, but that white's pretty clean, man.
Man,
clean.
That's a good note. Note, man. I have to thank you for coming, man, and really sharing your time. And I have to plug your podcast. It's Ask Alliance.
Yeah,
and you guys should check it out. I love it. You guys sat down with entrepreneurs telling powerful stories.
We try to do stuff that helps people. I guarantee it's not a bank yet. We're not there to talk about testimonials for bank. It's like, hey, how to do this, how to do that. Yep. People that quit their jobs recently. That's last one. They quit their jobs.
Where can people find your show?
Ask Alliance on everything. Spotify, YouTube channel, LinkedIn. But yeah, that last one was people that quit their jobs and started their own working for themselves. And you know, he encouraged people to do that, but know thyself, because you know we're saying to do it, and you don't need to do that.
Right.
So there's part of that. We're like doing something that helps people.
All right, y'all. We're gonna have to have Todd back because you know why? This has been a great time. No, come on, tell truth. Tell truth. No. This is great. This is great. This is what we love. We talked. We sat down and I said, "Hey, we'd love a spirited conversation back and forth." That's what it's been, and it's just been great listening to you talk about betting on yourself.
It helps businesses. One of the biggest decisions that people. So I heard someone ask the question: "What's the best decision you can make?" Mm-hmm. Who you pick for your spouse. That's a good one. I hadn't told her that, but I heard someone say, "What's the best decision?"
Real quick, why is that for you?
Because kind of knowing that self. Like if you're gonna make
Yep.
that jump,
Yeah.
you can have somebody back that second guessing, half step, and all that. Because it ain't all easy.
Right.
That's another story. You'll have a podcast sometime. We never lost it.
Mm.
We never lost it. Regulatory laws grew too fast.
Mm.
They came in. They kind of overreacted a little bit.
Sure.
But I mean, I had that conversation. You want to get real? I had a bank examiner tell me, look, you don't get this cleaned up, you're not going to be in banking anymore.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Full circle.
So what we did, go back to sports.
Mm-hmm.
We circled that little group up together.
Yeah.
And we said, all right, who's in? We're like, let's go to work. And they said, it's going to take you about, it's ratings.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, we never lost. We were never at risk of losing, baby.
Right.
Just you might not be made because there's bank ratings,
Right.
systems and compliance, stuff like not building systems where we could prove up that, things. So the capital and all that was fine. It was just a regulatory issue. And they said, look, it's a lot of work. And we found it probably takes about 3 years to get this thing built up. And we circled that group of 5 or 6 people together, put our shoulders together, and we got out from under it about 18 months.
Wow.
But it was public, brother. They published that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Walk around town, people are like, hey, your bank got downgraded. Yeah.
So you've dealt with adversity.
Yeah.
So we always end our show
with
a motivational quote. So what we want to do is we're going to clip this up, and you have a minute or under. And so if you had a message to the Baylor team, right, we know there's a lot of things swirling around, a lot of conversations, a lot of craziness. What motivational speaking? If you had 60 seconds, the coach said, Todd, go, and you can speak to the team, what would you say? And we're probably going to clip this up and put it out.
Man, that's tough. I wasn't prepared to that. Speak to the team, I got to think about that.
Let me know if you want me to go first, so you can.
Well, you go first.
Do you want me to get? I'll give you a little time. See how generous I am, guys.
Yeah.
I would say this, Todd. It's just no different. I would say to all the guys, I'm gonna look right in the camera. Hopefully, when you do yours, you look right in the camera. And I would say, block out the noise. I said, let all the detractors do what they do, and what you do is lock in to your alignment, your assignment, and believe in the guys to your left and to your right. Because you guys have been working on this since you were 12 or 14 years old, and you only have so many snaps, so many games, so many moments. So lock into that and let everything else, let the chips fall where they may, and keep the main thing the main thing.
That was great that you went first, but you're right. This goes. Vince Lombardi, one of the great, for people who don't know, one of the great coaches. In fact, the Lombardi Trophy for the Super Bowl, I think, is named after him. What was his biggest thing he'd tell players, or what was the biggest thing that won championships? And he said, players have to love each other. Big, tough football players have to love each other? He said, yep. If they don't love each other, they won't play together. And it reminded me, I'm becoming a World War II buff. That guy in that foxhole, not playing for his country, not fighting for his country, not fighting for his country. He's fighting for the guy next to him. And my deal was, that's what you got. Forget the stands, you're playing. I didn't want to be the person to let that other person down. If you have the right relationship, I'm not going to be one to let stay down. I'm going to do my job. So you do your job, and then we're going to go do it together. Because that's what you got.
Yeah.
The rest of that stuff is just noise. And hold yourself accountable, and you got to love each other. And that works everywhere. But that's a great place to start. Because when all that stuff can move around, coaches move, all that kind of stuff. But you play for each other, block out all the noise. Yeah, it works.
I tell you what, and that's from one of the best to ever do it here in Waco, Texas.
Maybe not in football.
Well,
maybe not. Organizationally, I'm okay. Putting together organizations, I'm okay.
All right, Todd, got to have you back, man. This has been a pleasure.
Yeah.
And you know what? One of the things I love about this podcast is meeting new people. And I've heard a lot about you from Walter and McConaughey, our mutual friend. So, man, this has just been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Thanks for stepping out and doing it. A lot of people can point fingers. Other people do. Got to execute.
You know what? I'm gonna take the compliment today, y'all.
I appreciate
coming
that.
from Todd. That means a lot. I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks,
all right. See you guys.
Dude, that was an hour and 15 minutes.